It's me, Bussy, drag's most resilient cockroach, and welcome back to Hat or Rat. Today we are going to be reviewing episode 7 of Canada's Drag Race. Before we get started, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. I am dealing with a copyright strike. I did make some videos explaining what it is and what happened. Those are linked below in the description. Because of the strike, I did have to delete my entire catalog of videos, so I'm going to need all the help that I can get from you today. Whether that's liking this video, leaving a comment, sharing it with your friends, or hitting that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Even though my entire video library is gone from YouTube, they do still exist on Patreon. All membership tiers over on patreon.com/bussyqueen get access to my entire archive of deleted videos from YouTube. And I want to, of course, say thank you to everyone who has supported me over this past week. It has been very difficult, very stressful, and your support has meant so much to me. Now, let's get started. In the main challenge, the girls had to compete in Miss Loose Jaw, and on the runway, the theme was Pageant Perfection. First up is Ilona Verley. She comes out in her signature icy blue monochromatic color scheme thing. I immediately thought of Snow Miser when I thought of this. I do overall think that she looks pretty on the runway, but I do have a couple of issues with the outfit that she's actually wearing. I think the little train on the mermaid part of the dress should have been a little bit longer, coming behind her as she walked down the stage. I think the mermaid poof should have been dropped just a couple of inches lower because I feel it cuts off her body a little bit in this particular silhouette. And I'm not totally sure that the top she's wearing could be considered diamond-esque as she wants us to believe it is. It looks a little bit closer to Party City costume jewelry glued onto a basketball net and then thrown over her shoulders, and I feel so bad for saying that, but I'm just calling it like I see it. I think it was Stacey Mckenzie said that she would have liked to have seen the basketball net extended over her entire body. I actually just want her to take it off. I think the gown could have stood on its own had it also had those minor adjustments that I mentioned before about the length and placement of the mermaid tail. Concerning the jewelry that she's wearing, it is also so much, especially when it is sitting right on top of that little diamond net thing that she has over top of the dress. It looks a little bit like she's going into battle, and I'm not sure who she's at war with. Maybe a snow yeti. And it is definitely not off of Ilona's brand to see her wearing something armor-esque. This is something that we have seen over and over and over again. I think she needs to take off the basketball net and then either keep on the earrings or the encrusted choker. It's just way too much going on up there and my eyes don't know where to go or what to look at. I'd also like to have a little bit of a deeper moment here and hypothesize that maybe Miss Ilona's icy exterior and all this like body armor stuff is really just a metaphor for her being scared to show us who she really is. Because throughout the competition, I think we got to see the icy glacier that is Ilona melt just a little bit, and through those cracks, we actually saw a really great person. Ilona proves that every snowflake is unique. However, I think that she melted just a bit before she hit the runway. This is going to be a rot for me. As for what Ilona did in the main challenge, Miss Loose Jaw, she was playing this miserable character. She kind of was going for that goth emo kid who's being forced to participate in the pageant to like prove that she's just as good as the other girls, even though she has a unique sense of style. I think the character choice that she chose turned out to be a bit of a mistake. I think Ilona's character maybe should have been played a little bit more like Aubrey Plaza, this sort of like nonchalant, don't care type of thing, rather than this like whiny little baby. And of course, it wouldn't be a Drag Race review without saying, where were the jokes? It was a rot. Next on the stage and fresh from a sip of go-go juice is Lemon. I love the concept that she brought to this runway. I think the judges made the point that she was really the only one that truly brought a unique concept to this runway. Lemon is showing here that she like really pays attention to details. She's doing the little hand movements, creating the heart in the beginning of the stage. She's tapping her feet. She has on tap shoes for Christ's sake on the runway, but you really don't even notice that she's not wearing true stiletto heels because she has so much energy and charisma on the stage. I love the tiny little tiara that she has tucked away in that huge hair. I was like, damn, okay, Lemon does have some big hair that she brought to the competition. This is a really great moment for Lemon because even though she's impersonating like a 9-year-old girl, she really has all the proportions of this outfit correct. The really huge hair is balanced out by the stacks and stacks of tulle around her waist. Honey Boo Boo is shook and Lemon looks hot. She really is taking notes from the judges about the presentation of her body, and we even have a little emoji emotional moment in the episode where Lemon is talking about how she has been body shamed her entire life because she's a dancer and she's also a drag queen, and she's fighting between those very two different worlds. I mentioned this before and I'll say it again. I don't think the judges asking for a little bit of silhouette on a drag queen's body is the worst thing in the world, as she proves that she can do so well in the main challenge this episode. Your place or mine? Lemon's talent portion was definitely a highlight, I think because it was unique and not hitting us over the head with the character that she chose for the competition. I think Lemon's talent show was actually really successful because she managed to incorporate like physical pain humor, which is universally funny. Everybody loves watching people in pain, into a mime act, which was great. Genius. Beautiful. She's running into walls, she's hitting herself in the head, balancing on like imaginary tight beams. It was a good choice. Also great because she didn't have to rely on speaking and saying something funny. She could just rely on that body. And I thought her performance was hot. Next up is Rita Baga. And I think this is a look worthy of that JBC critique that he gave her in the last episode about that little pink rocker thing she did being the best she ever looked. I actually think this might be the best that Rita has looked throughout the entire competition. I've got to say that natural makeup on her is so gorgeous, unexpected even, and she's always really doing this sort of extraterrestrial, super dramatic, overly arched brow with like huge eyeshadow extending even past like her wig line at times. So this was really refreshing. Concerning the hair on her head, I like the way that she tried something new and fresh with it. I think this particular hair does age her character quite a bit because it kind of looks like she might be like a balding pageant queen and she just sort of combed back the last remaining gray hairs that she had on her head. Yikes, maybe I didn't like it. I don't know, maybe I do. Something about it is a little bit like Meryl Streep's from Devil Wears Prada, so I think that's why I like it. But then again, I don't. It's a very confusing moment for me, but let's move on. Concerning the gown, yes, it's drop dead gorgeous. I love that she didn't over accessorize this look. I really do love the amount of jewelry that Rita has on here. I think is just the right amount. She's really letting that gorgeous gown do the work that it needs to do on the runway. She looks hot. My only critique for the actual gown, if I was going to improve something, would be the bottom part of that little mermaid hoop skirt. She has on what looks to be some sort of hard cage that is keeping it poofed out. It looks a little too stiff for me. Like it looks like there's a hula hoop under her dress, or maybe she's got a kiddie pool under there. Who knows? The queens are doing all kinds of things these days. As for the main challenge, I was so confused by the character that Rita was playing. What was she doing? I think there was some mixed success with it. Sometimes I would get a little chuckle, but mostly I was laughing at the ridiculousness of it. Girl, it was confusing. For me, it was a rot. Next up is Priyanka, ready to take us to a dazzling place we never knew, with unbelievable sights and an indescribable feeling. I think she looks beautiful. I really think the only thing about this that is Princess Jasmine-y is the color. I think this was a really tasteful way to integrate a little bit of culture and also a beautiful homage to her grandma on the runway. This, honestly, may be the best that Priyanka has looked on the runway. I was so gagged, honestly, by the majority of these pageant looks. However, I just found myself thinking about the past few runways that we've seen on some of these girls, especially ones like Priyanka, where she's been giving us lots of flat hair, and she saved what seems to be her only big hair for the pageant runway. I mean, hey, if you only brought one big hair, yes, wear it on the pageant runway. I love that it's loose and flowy on one side and then nice and tight on the other. It has that asymmetricality that I love so much, and also it is cohesive from head to toe. She's got a beautiful color palette all the way from the blue beaded earrings down to those gorgeous blue beaded pumps. I think near or Jafar, wherever you are, she looks hot. In the main challenge, she broke not only her water, but also my heart. In her confessional, she was asking if it was a mistake that she had like quit her day job in TV, hosting a TV kids show. I was like, whoa, first of all, that came as a surprise. Second of all, I was like, no, Priyanka, you didn't. If you're watching, know that you are so beautiful, so talented, and you are an instant star. I actually laughed pretty hard when she went behind the curtains and pulled out her little towel baby. I was like, girl, you're doing the most, and I was living for it. However, while I did think the baby thing was funny, I didn't necessarily think that she delivered a consistent amount of humor across the entire challenge. Anyways, I think her performance was a little bit of a rot. Next up, Cindy Lou Who goes to the prom. This kind of was a mixed amount of success for me. I think from the head up, Jimbo does look gorgeous. I think she does look glamorous. Oh my God. I almost jumped out of my chair. I am so sick of hearing Jeffrey Bowyer-Chapman's critiques on the runway. And Jimbo, good on you for clapping back as hard as you did that. Oh, I wish I could play the clip, but girl, we know Viacom is watching, so we can't do that. But that clap back, she was like, no part of anything I'm wearing is glamorous to you. I got my whole entire life. That man is a nightmare. His performance as a judge has been a rotted nightmare. That wig she's wearing, those detailed, tight, like beehive of curls that is sitting on top of her head, the literal crystallized glitter tears hanging from her face. I mean, that is glamorous. It is also so campy. For me, from the neck up, she gets a hot. However, the rest of the outfit, as much as I hate to say it, I do kind of agree with what Brooklyn was saying a little bit about it looking kind of arts and craftsy. However, I thought it was so insulting that Brooklyn said this looked so bad and it looked like something that she made in one of the design challenges. I was like, oh, so you think it looks like something she made in the design challenge? So you think it looks beautiful and gorgeous and amazing? But she used it as like a slap in the face. I don't know. I just didn't understand where that specific critique came from, but I do think the dress was just lacking a little bit of detail and did look just a bit unfinished. There's something about the contrast of that solid silky pink gown and then just a little bit of ostrich feather glued to the bottom. Like, if we're gonna do ostrich feathers, girl, let's do the damn thing. Let's cover that entire dress in ostrich feathers. That would have been a gag. She looks almost, looking at this now, kind of like one of those little bride dolls on top of a cake where the bottom part is literally just the cake and it looks undecorated. That's my problem. It's just too plain on the bottom for how much is going on up top. So all things considered, this look for me is going to be a Marie Antoine rat. In the main challenge, I actually think Jimbo gave the most consistent and funniest performance, but we all know this is a Jimbo stan channel, so I might be just a bit biased. However, I can see maybe where the judges were coming from. They didn't want to reward that overly cliche sex doll type of character. I just didn't understand for how well her performance looked, why they put her as low. She wasn't bottom 2, but she was definitely in the low of the critiques. It seemed like they were just focused way too much on her outfit, which really wasn't that bad. I just thought it wasn't a total home run. I mean, JBC even says to Jimbo, quote, "I think I laughed the hardest at what you brought to the stage." So why was she placed low? Why? Nothing is making sense in Canada's Drag Race. I'm honestly so terrified that this is going to start going downhill really quick for Jimbo, because that was an excellent performance in the main challenge and I don't understand why she wasn't at least top 2. Next up, how many Manillas had to die for this wig? It's Scarlett Bobo. Mama, this is it. This is it. This is glamour. This is fashion. This is, oh, it's beautiful. She looks like a supervillain attending the Grammys. The ruffles coming down on one side of the dress, which are like totally unexpected because you think that the dress would just close on that right part of her hip, but it actually comes out in this little surprising cascade of ruffles, which is so gorgeous. And normally I would think something like that wouldn't work. This is almost reminiscent of some of the outfits that Alyssa Edwards used to wear because her style was so eclectic and crazy and also pageanty. You know, they sort of have to do some of those crazier things to get noticed in that world. Scarlett says that she's never felt more beautiful in her entire life, and girl, you are damn right about that. Flawless. This is elegance and drag excellence at a level that nobody else on the runway even came close to. Fight me on it. She looks hot. Also, if you were looking for the B or Bobo on this look, it is on her hand. She's wearing it as a ring. As for the main challenge, I guess I'll give it a soft hot. It seemed really like nothing in the main challenge had anything to do with how they placed the contestants this episode. So if they were just looking at the runways, I would have given her the win based on that alone. As for the bottom 2, we have Priyanka and Ilona. That definitely makes sense for me. I don't think there's been too many like surprising eliminations on the show. It kind of has felt mostly that they have made the right calls on the limbs. It just seems more like they're struggling to place the wins correctly. The lip sync, obviously, I think they do both get a hot for this performance, but they both approached it very very differently. And, you know, as we know, on Drag Race, humor is always going to win. Priyanka manages to not only give seriousness when she needs to, but makes the judges laugh like 3 or 4 times, whereas Ilona was very solidly serious throughout the entire song. And it wasn't necessarily a funny song or one that you would expect someone to make funny. So that's why it was so great when Priyanka added those little bits of comedic relief to the very serious performance that Ilona was giving. As for the judges this week, Jeffrey Bowyer-Chapman made no sense as usual. Rot. Stacey Mckenzie was a ray of light in a room of darkness, but that turtleneck was atrocious. Rot. And as for Brooklyn Heights, while she looked gorgeous and hot, the critiques about Jimbo were a little arts and craftsy. She gets a rot this week. And a well-deserved hottest hot for me this week goes to Scarlett Bobo. I always ask my patrons every single week over on patreon.com/bussyqueen to vote for their hottest hot, and this week they've chosen Scarlett. I do of course want to say thank you so much to all of my patrons for helping me make videos, and give a special shout out to Blythe, Caroline, Catherine, Crystal, Curtis, Derek, Ed, Elizabeth, Elvin, Hannah, Hassan, Ivan, James, Janine, Jenny, Joseph, Neil, kind of emo, kind of white girl, Maxwell, Michelle, Miguel, Oscar V, Oscar D, Rick, Stephanie, Susan, Tacosita, Terry, Timotheus, Vanessa, Veronica, Zincat, Midnight 19, and Drew, who were all subscribed at the tier. Bradley, Craig, Glenn, Kiki and John, Mike, Nyx, Sailor, Shannon, Sunshine, and Tina, who were all subscribed at the hottest hot tier, and Marty, Matthew, and Tom, who are all subscribed at the Bussy Queen Collector tier. I also would love to wish a very happy belated birthday to Glenn, and an on-time happy birthday to Nyx. Y'all are all so amazing. My heart is so full, and I just want to thank each and every one of you for helping me so much through this rough patch in my career as a creator. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Love you. Bye.